Shahrazada's voice rose and fell like wind through curtains as King Shahryar leaned in, drawn closer still by the spell of her storytelling.
O king, the first old man stood tall before the Jinnee and said, "Know, O mighty Jinnee, that the gazelle who stands beside me now was once my wife. I was a merchant, like this man you would slay, and blessed with great fortune. I owned many herds and farms, orchards and flocks. But my truest joy was the peace of my home and the wife with whom I had shared many quiet years. Or so I believed. One day, I left for a year-long journey across distant lands to attend to my trading caravans. Before I left, I placed my trust in her. I gave her the keys to our home, the care of my lands, and the guardianship of my son by another wife, a boy born of a woman now gone to the grave. But while I was gone, my wife grew jealous of the boy. Though he was innocent, her envy festered like mold in a sealed room. She turned to sorcery, yes, sorcery, learned from dark corners of the earth. With spells and chants whispered beneath the moon, she transformed my son into a calf and gave him to my steward, saying, "Slaughter this animal and prepare a feast." The steward, puzzled by the command, looked into the calf's eyes and saw tears, silent and slow, fall from its lashes. Moved by something he couldn't explain, he spared it and brought me another beast instead. When I returned, she greeted me with tears and sorrow and told me my son had taken ill and died. I mourned. I buried an empty coffin. But I noticed that the steward avoided me and that the calf we kept would not look away from me, nor stop following me with strange, knowing eyes. One day, I went to visit a wise woman, an old shepherdess who lived alone and who, some said, could see beyond the veil of things. I took the calf with me, heavy with suspicion. She laid her hand upon its head and chanted softly. The room shifted. The air seemed to breathe, and then she cried out, "This is no animal. This is your son." My knees gave way. I wept. The old woman whispered again, louder this time, and the calf began to twist and shimmer until before me stood my son, thin and shaken, but human once more. I begged him for the truth, and he told me everything. Rage filled me, but I tempered it. I waited. Then I brought my wife to the same wise woman on the pretense of healing her of a dream that haunted her. And while she stood there, the shepherdess whispered once more, this time a darker incantation. Before my eyes, my wife's body shrank, her limbs bent, and her cries turned to bleats. She fell to the ground, no longer a woman, but a gazelle, and thus she has remained. I could not bear to end her, for though she betrayed me, a part of my heart still remembered her kindness in earlier days. So I kept her beside me, in silence and sadness, and wandered the world ever since. And this is the story of the man and the gazelle. When the old man finished his tale, the Jinnee stood in stunned silence. By the fires of the underworld, the Jinnee said, "Your tale is more wondrous than I expected. I grant the merchant 1/3 of his life." The second old man then stepped forward, and "If I tell you a tale more marvelous than the first," he said, "will you grant the merchant another third?" The Jinnee crossed his arms. "If your tale is worthy, I shall." And so the second old man began to speak.
When Scheherazade heard the rooster crow, she decided to stop telling stories. Shahryar smiled and realized that Scheherazade would not tell any more. Of course, he had a new date the next night to continue enjoying the stories of his beautiful wife, Scheherazade.